Hello, students, and welcome to Coming of Age in 2020. All right, so this is going to be a multimedia writing contest, and I'm super excited for you guys to enter this. I'm excited to see the work that I'm going to get from you, and who knows, maybe a few of you will even get published in the New York Times Learning Network. Let's cross our fingers. Let's go ahead and do it. So let's go ahead and look into this assignment right here. You are going to enter the New York Times Learning Network Coming of Age in 2020, a special multimedia contest for teenagers in the US. So let's click on this. I'm going to go through this for you. It's going to be kind of a longer video, but you need to know a lot of information about this. All right. So this is a writing contest, and over the next few weeks, you're going to work on something, you're going to create something, and you're going to make an artist statement, and you're going to submit it at least to me, and if you'd like a little bit of extra credit, to the Learning Network. So this is an invitation to show the Learning Network in words or images, video or audio, how the events of this extraordinary year have affected you. So let's scroll down here. The question is this: what has 2020 been like for you? This has been a tumultuous year that has changed all of us. Now, real quick, when I was in high school, I was a sophomore in 1999, and I remember the biggest stressor in my life was that computers weren't programmed to go from 1999 to the year 2000, and everyone thought that would usher in the apocalypse, and as soon as a stroke of midnight came, then banks would be shut down, computers and the internet would just implode, and electricity would shut down, and the entire United States and world infrastructure would just completely shut down overnight. There would be a mad rush to grocery stores and to Walmart, and it would basically be the zombie apocalypse without the zombies. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I remember when the ball dropped in the year 2000, nothing happened. My TV still worked, the electricity was still on, and I was very upset because I still had to go to school in January. You guys, however, your coming of age, it's been intense. So this tumultuous year has changed all of us, but perhaps no generation has been more affected than yours. Teenagers are experiencing their formative years trapped inside and missing or reinventing milestones while a pandemic rages and economic collapse threatens. The 2020 election looms. School, as you once knew it, has ceased to exist or completely changed. Civics lessons in books have shifted from civics lessons in the streets as young people participate in what may be the largest protest movement in U.S. history. Folks, the Black Lives Movement is the biggest protest movement that we have seen. Okay, so the New York Times Learning Network wants to hear about your experiences in whatever way you want to tell them about it, whether it's words or images, audios or video. This is the first ever multimedia contest, and it's essentially a challenge to document what you're living through and express yourself creatively on any aspect, large or small, that you think is important or interesting. For instance, maybe you already have images on your camera roll that say something meaningful or poignant or funny or profound about your life this year. Go open up your phone, go through the camera and see, oh, look at that. I've got a cat. That's cute, isn't it? So maybe you go through and you look at all of your photos you took in March and April and May, and you see what those will lead to. More about that later. Or maybe you've kept a diary or a sketchbook or text or emails or handwritten letters that you can show what you've experienced in this crazy year. Or maybe you'd like to say something new, whether an essay, poem, song, cartoon, illustration, graph, video, or podcast. We'll accept nearly anything you can upload digitally that is your original work. So no matter what format you choose, trust us, even if you don't think you have something to say, you do. There are stories only you can tell. The details are below, so let's go over some of those details. Actually, there's one thing I did want to bring up right here. This part, it says, we want to reach young people in every corner of the country from a variety of backgrounds and communities and circumstances, and invite them to add their points of view to a collective portrait of what happened this year and what it means. Okay, so let's go more into these details. So how to submit. You're going to submit this, whatever it is, to me. It's going to be due November 12th. Both so this is a bigger project. So start thinking now, students, of what you're going to do for this. Start planning it. Start budgeting your time. Start looking through your phone in the past and what you've already created and what you can repurpose for this assignment. This big thing is due November 12th. But today or this week, you're just going to do a brainstorming activity for it. So this time is going to be something small, but later on, you're going to turn in the bigger project. So what to submit? Check this out. I really like this right here. This is a journal that was submitted to the Audrey Museum by Tanya Gibb, who came down with COVID-19 symptoms on March 9th. And this teenager recorded her symptoms in a journal. You can take something, maybe you or someone in your family got COVID, and you documented that somehow in your family. Maybe you can turn in something like that. But I like this part right here. We'll be honest, we're not entirely sure what we're looking for. And that's what makes this challenge interesting. We hope you'll surprise us. It's safe to say that in all of our contests, they prize original work that has a strong voice and goes beyond cliche, or show us or tell us something new. To see what we mean, you can go ahead, check these out. 2018, 2019 show us your generation contest. Real quick side, if you go to the 2018, I had two students who won this 2 years ago. Kara Cox. She's a senior now at New Ames. Her photo was featured in this 2 years ago. And then I had one, oh yes, right here, Kennedy Conroy. Perhaps you might know her. So 2 years ago, I had students enter this photo contest and they won. They've changed it. Now it's multimedia, so it doesn't have to be a photograph. It really can be anything. So let's go back. Check out some of the winners from 2018 and 19. All right, I lost my spot. Here it is. This challenge is a bit different. It's not just photos. For one thing, we hope to honor many, many students across a range of genres, and we'll be looking not just for excellent work, but for how those submissions can be woven together into a larger story. I like this part right here. Pay close attention. For another, in our final collection, we'll be including both first drafts, for instance, writings or sketches from pandemic diaries. So something more along the lines of this diary right here. It's not really focused, or it's not really refined. It's just more. It's not refined or polished. It's just kind of like mid-work. But in addition to that, they will be looking for more polished things and essays that have gone through several drafts. So you can think of something more crude that you've done or something more polished that you've done and turn in any of those. But I love this part right here. In a sense, we're doing just what museums are doing and inviting you to act as field collectors of artifacts made this spring and summer that speaks to our theme. And the theme is, what's it like being a teenager in 2020? But we're also inviting you to create something new. Okay, so real quick before I talk about that. So you got so imagine right now that you're going to go into an exhibit in a museum somewhere. Maybe this is we're gonna get in a time machine, go 50 years into the future, and we're going to go to a museum, maybe somewhere in Salt Lake, and that museum exhibit is teenagers in the year 2020. And all around that exhibit, you're going to get different artifacts and pictures and movies, perhaps even TikTok dances. You're going to get diary entries. You're going to get masks. You're going to get clothes. You're going to get this. And it's just going to be this huge display of different types of multimedia projects of what it meant to be a teenager in 2020. That's what you're going to do. We're going to be field collectors, and we're going to give the Learning Network artifacts, specifically from northern Utah, to get that perspective right here. We're inviting you to create something, but we're also inviting you to create something new. If you'd like, or since you can submit 2 pieces, you can do both. So think about what you've already created, something you already have done, and see if you can repurpose that for this assignment. Or if you'd like to do something new, you can do something new. I'm a huge fan of turning in something you have already done. Finally, for every piece you submit, will be asking for an artist statement. So let's go back to this hypothetical future museum. You're walking around this museum, you see an artifact there, and you look at it, you analyze it, you interpret it, you get the point of view there. But then on the wall, there's a plaque, and that plaque is going to have words directly from the artist. It'll be an artist statement. In this piece, I was trying to communicate this, or maybe it's a sculpture made with non-traditional items. So the person will say, well, I was trying to communicate this, and here's why I chose this medium, and here's what I did with all of this. So that's what you're going to do. An artifact and an artist statement. Finally, for every piece you submit, we'll be asking for an artist statement. I already read that, so I'm going to go on. So we don't have many rules around what you can submit. Only we'll accept 2 pieces per person, whether you work alone or with others. Think about other people you can work with. Maybe they're in any of my classes. All of my in-person English 11 students are doing this. So if you want to pair up with some of them, you can totally do that. Or you can work alone. I don't care. All right. The only thing is it can't be previously published somewhere else, because then if you are selected to be published in the New York Times Learning Network, they're going to run into some copyright issues, and we don't want any legal problems with us. Okay. So you can send in 2 works of the same genre, or you can mix or match. For instance, you might submit an essay, maybe a personal essay, opinion, or even an informational essay, or a diary, or a poem, or a song, or a rap, maybe the lyrics or a recording, interviews, letters, email exchanges, text messages. Maybe you broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend or their friend over the pandemic, and you have a threaded Facebook or a threaded conversation, or maybe you broke up on Twitch and you recorded that. I don't know. Maybe you can submit something like that. People are going to want to know what dating was like in the year 2020 for teenagers with the pandemic raging. I don't know. Be whatever you want. Letters, email exchanges, photos, gifts, illustrations, drawing, collages, painting, comics, political cartoons, videos. Maybe you started a TikTok channel on the YouTubes and people are following you. I think I messed that up, but maybe you started a TikTok account to deal with COVID-19 during the spring and summer, and you got tons of people following. I don't know what happens on the TikToks, but maybe it was something like that. Podcasts or soundscapes, graphs, charts, maps, or anything else you can upload digitally. Recipes, lists, the options are endless, whatever you want to do. I love how open-ended this thing is. That might be putting you on the cusp of an existential crisis, like it's so overwhelming and big, but I kind of like that it's going to challenge you like that. Okay. Also, keep in mind that it has to be for the Times. It's a family-friendly newspaper, so make sure your stuff is appropriate. I thought I wouldn't have to say that, but in the past, I did have to say that. So I'm just clarifying that right now. So maybe the pandemic has had a more direct impact on your community, maybe because you or someone you know has gotten sick or been on the front lines as an essential worker. Maybe your parents are in the healthcare industry and you've got some artifacts that you can submit for that, or have lost their job or their home or something like that. Perhaps part of who you are as a family member, friend, student, worker, member of a racial, religious, or ethnic group, athlete, artist, or anything else has been challenged or changed by the upheaval this year. What can you tell us that others may not know or understand? Maybe you have been involved in the protest for racial justice, or maybe you've been involved for the protest for Blue Lives Matter or All Lives Matter, and you want to reflect them via writing, video, political cartoons, or photos. You can send those in. Or it could be that a community you're a part of has been directly affected by this issue that would be voting on in the next few weeks, or by a recent law or even a Supreme Court decision. Maybe you live in a place that has been hit by a wildfire, flood, hurricane, tornado, or other somewhat natural event. We've had those in Utah this year. Last week, when I was driving back up from southern Utah, I was driving through north in the valley on the 15, and I looked to my right, and to my dismay, Mount Timpanogos was on fire. Lots of memories there. I literally wept. That was hard for me. Finally, don't be afraid to tell us what might feel like a very small story, since focusing on small moments often work better than trying to capture something enormous. As we divide for students in other contests, telling an engaging story about, say, making brownies with your stepbrother can speak volumes about the experience of living in a blended family during quarantine. So it doesn't have to be big. It can be a small moment. In fact, the small moments, I think, are much more interesting. So here are the rules. Whatever you send must somehow relate to a local, national, or global news that affected our lives in 2020, even if that connection is subtle. Your work can be funny or sad, raw or polished, focus on a tiny moment last April or an entire global movement. Each participant can submit up to 2 pieces in any written, visual, video, or audio genre you can upload digitally. For each submission, you must fill out an artist statement. You can work alone or with others, or you can do both. The writing you send, regardless of genre, must not be more than 450 words. Videos and audio recordings can be no longer than 2 minutes. I've got a student who is putting together a dance and recording that, and she'll publish it online. But that can only be, it can't be any more than 2 minutes. Photographs no larger than 10 megabytes. Is that? I feel like I interpreted that wrong. It can't be too big of a file. You cannot submit anything you have already published somewhere else. The contest is open to young people whose primary residence in the United States. And that's really all it is. Okay, so there's a lot of information right there. So I'm going to show you, if I were doing this contest, what I would submit. Now, keep in mind, I already came of age in the late 90s and early 2000s, so I can't speak to what it's like to be a teenager in 2020, but I can show you of what I dealt with and how I dealt with it during this summer. I don't know about you guys, but before I tell the story of what I would do, also, I'm going to use things that I've already done and already created, and I'm going to see if I can repurpose them for this assignment. And that way, all I have to do is write the artist statement. So I really enjoy photography. I have gotten into it a lot. And recently I've been getting a little bit more into landscape photography and wildlife photography. I'm a novice at it. I'm going to show you my pictures. So keep in mind, I'm very new to this. So be nice. Be nice to me. All right, so here's what I would submit. I would take some pictures, or I'm going to show you some of my pictures that I would submit for this contest. Okay, so here is what I would submit. Here are my photos. I'm going to, I'll keep my face there for a little bit, and then I'll get rid of my face. Okay, so I don't know what it was for you, but back in March, when the whole state in the United States shut down and we went to online remote learning, it was hard, like really, really, really hard. I got depressed. It was hard for me to get up in the morning. Sometimes I got up at noon, folks. I have a family, 3 children, and a career. And sometimes on a Wednesday or a Thursday, I wasn't pulling myself out of bed until noon. It was bad. It was bad. So one of the ways that I fought my depression, and I had to actively make plans to get up and to do things. Because if I didn't, I would just lie in bed and be sad all day. So I was like, I got to get out and do things. I like photography. I don't want to do it right now, but I'm going to force myself to get out and do it. So I bought myself a state park pass, and I went to Antelope Island, no joke, this year, probably 20 times since March. And I learned I love it. So over COVID-19, March, April, May, and a little bit of June and July, I took these photographs in Antelope Island. So I'll move my face here. This is one of the first photographs I took, more of my first shot at landscape photography here. It's okay. I won't go too much into the details of it. It could have been a little bit sharper if I opened up my aperture a little bit. I had it on f/22. I needed to go like to f/11 on that. But I do like this cute little raven right there. Decent shot right there. I took a lot of pictures of the bison there. This one was a fun picture that I took. It was in late March, I think, early April. I pulled my car over to the side of the road. My family's in the back of the van. I stood on top of my van and got my 300 millimeter lens in. I zoomed in up on this guy, and several cars stopped behind me. They were all taking pictures. And then a guy, like 5 cars behind me, he started honking at me. And he was like, "Get off your car and move along." I was like, "Dude." So I took my camera and I was shooting the bison here, and I just took his picture and I smiled at him and I said, "I'll post that on Facebook later." He got mad and drove around me. It was fun. This one, I may have gotten a little bit too close. If you read about a Syracuse man who gets gored by a bison sometime this winter, and that means you're not going to have digital lesson plans for a couple of weeks, or maybe not any for a while, as they find a replacement for me. Man, that was a fun picture to take. I was slightly frightened with it. All right, there's this one. Whew, Frary Peak in the background. Very pleased with that one, the composition and everything right there. And then we go here, some birds, lots of birds. Check out that cute little guy. Isn't he cute? He's cute. I like him. He came up and he was like, "Take my photographs," like one of those French girls. No, she didn't. He didn't. I don't know. But this guy, he walked right up to me and just basically asked me to take his photograph. So I did. This was actually during the windstorms, dramatic skies. And so I was like, none of my trees blew down. So I grabbed my camera, school was canceled, drove out to Antelope Island, and I took this picture here. Same with this one. Man, I kind of like this one. Kind of like this one. This one, however, is my favorite. This is in mid-April. We took our family to the beach there, and they were skipping rocks and just having a good time. And the wind was just absolutely still. So we had this beautiful glass-like effect. And I didn't stage this one at all. You can't stage a 6-year-old girl. You can't do it. You just have to just wait for your kids to do something cool. And it was perfect. The stars aligned for this photograph. Beautiful silhouette, reflection shot. Composition was nailed this one. I love this photograph here. I printed this one and it's in my living room and it's hanging above my mantle. So what I would do for this project is I would have to select 2, maybe 3 of these photographs, and I would have to submit them. But then I would have to, like, these photographs, like, this has nothing to do with COVID. Nothing to do with COVID, unless I can do that with my artist statement. So what I would do in my artist statement is I would talk about how I dealt with my depression during COVID. I didn't want to do the things that I love to do, but I needed to do it. And so I got outside and it forced me to get out. Now, the other thing is I had big plans this summer. I was planning on going to New York City. I was planning on going to California. I was planning on going canyoneering all over Utah, but I was stuck here. We were all stuck here because of lockdown and restrictions. So because of that, I bought a state park pass and I went and I discovered the beautiful places that have been all around me for the last 15, 20 years of my life. That I was like, Antelope Island, that place has been there, done that, stinks, smells like salt and dead fish, and there are too many bugs there. I hate that place. I discovered the beauty that has always been around me because of COVID-19 and photography. So that would be my artist statement. So you need to start thinking about what you are going to do for this contest. Remember, the big thing that you're going to submit is due November 12th. So what are you going to do this week? You're going to start brainstorming for this. So I've got all of these questions for you to answer. You can now don't get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed. All of these things are to help you think about what you're going to do. Read through all of this on Canvas. Start answering some, not all of the questions. Some of the things you want to do. Like, does that make sense? Like there's tons of things there. They're just there to get you to start thinking about what you want to do. So number 1, consider the artifacts you already have. Here's a few things to help you consider that. Number 2, go back through everything you've made or collected and consider what it says. Go through your images, your journals, your social media posts, text, emails, things that you have bought, or I don't know, make a list of all the things you bought on Amazon this year. I think that would be interesting. What did you notice? What piece stands out to you? Or try this one. Make a timeline for your life from the beginning of the year to present. So you can make a timeline. You can respond to the prompts of the following sentence starters. This year has been blank because. Decide what to submit. Now I realize you're probably not going to figure that out. Like, that's going to be the hardest part of this assignment. Not necessarily doing it, but deciding what you want to submit and what you want to say about it. That's going to be difficult. And then play around with medium and genre. The more original you are, the more outside your thinking is, the more likely you are to be published. Many people are going to submit photos and videos. See if you can go beyond that. See if you can do something new or unique or interesting. But remember, go beyond cliche. Go beyond cliche. Okay, so what are you going to turn in for this assignment? Turn in, you can use the text entry box in the upper right-hand corner up here, or you can create a new Google Doc or a Word doc, and you can answer some or all of these questions. I don't know exactly what you're going to turn into me by the end of the week. Maybe it's 2 or 3 paragraphs. Maybe it's a page or two. I don't know. But prove to me that you've been thinking about it. Maybe go through all of these, some of these. If you can, some of you are going to know immediately what you're going to do. Like, it's boom, right there. For you, you don't need to go through all of this. Just tell me what you're going to do. Some of you, you're going to try to need to do these brainstorming things. So turn in something to me to prove to me that you are thinking about what you're going to do for your project. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to do, what you're going to submit, and I'm excited to see a few of you publish, because I'm thinking we're going to get several new students published this year. Okay, folks, have a great week. This is Mr. Bockult. Keep reading, keep learning. Oh, I forgot to bring my face back over. You were probably missing me. Folks, this is Mr. Bockult. Keep reading, keep learning.